Good evening. I welcome you to the first of the 2008 presidential debates. Gentlemen, where do you stand on the financial recovery plan?
We are at a defining moment in our history. Our nation is involved in 2 wars, and we are going through the worst financial crisis since the Great Depression. We also have to recognize that this is a final verdict on 8 years of failed economic policies promoted by George Bush, supported by Senator McCain. It hasn't worked.
Senator McCain, 2 minutes.
Jim, I've been not feeling too great about a lot of things lately, so have a lot of Americans who are facing challenges. But I'm feeling a little better tonight, and I'll tell you why. We are seeing, for the first time in a long time, Republicans and Democrats together sitting down, trying to work out a solution to this fiscal crisis that we're in. And yes, I went back to Washington, and I met with my Republicans in the House of Representatives, and they weren't part of the negotiations, and I understand that. And it was the House Republicans that decided that they would be part of the solution of this problem.
Let's go back to my question. How you all stand on the recovery plan? Are you going to vote for the plan, Senator McCain?
I hope so, and I
as the United States Senator,
sure.
You're going to vote for the plan?
Sure, but let me point out.
Do you have something directly to say, Senator Obama, to Senator McCain about what he just said?
Well, I think Senator McCain's absolutely right that we need more responsibility, but we need it not just when there's a crisis. 10 days ago, John said that the fundamentals of the economy are sound. I do not think that they are.
Say it directly to him.
Well, John, 10 days ago, you said that the fundamentals of the economy are sound. And
you afraid I couldn't hear him?
I'm just determined to get you all to talk to each other. I'm going to try. So, Senator McCain, do you agree with what Senator Obama just said? And if you don't, tell him what you disagree with.
No, look, we've got to fix the system. We got fundamental problems in the system. But I have a fundamental belief in the goodness and strength of the American worker, and the American worker. First thing we have to do is get spending under control in Washington. It's completely out of control. Earmarking as a gateway drug, because it's a gateway. It's a gateway to out-of-control spending and corruption. You know, we spent $3 million to study the DNA of bears in Montana. I don't know if that was a criminal issue or a paternal issue, but the fact is that it was $3 million of our taxpayers' money. I've got a pen. This one's kind of old. I've got a pen.
Senator McCain is proposing, and this is a fundamental difference between us, $300 billion in tax cuts to some of the wealthiest corporations and individuals in the country.
Senator Obama has shifted on a number of occasions. He has voted in the United States Senate to increase taxes on people who make as low as $42,000 a year. That's just a fact. Again, you can look it up.
Look, it's just not true.
What priorities would you adjust as president, Senator McCain, because of the financial bailout costs?
Look, Senator Obama has the most liberal voting record in the United States Senate. It's hard to reach across the aisle from that far to the left. The point is,
one of you is going to be the president of the United States come January, in the middle of a huge financial crisis that is yet to be resolved. And what I'm trying to get at is how this is going to affect you, not in very specific small ways, but in major ways in the approach you would take as to the presidency.
Well, how about a spending freeze on everything but defense, veteran affairs, and entitlement programs?
Spending freeze?
I think we ought to seriously consider, with the exceptions of caring for our veterans, national defense, and several other vital issues.
Would you go for that?
Well, the problem with a spending freeze is you're using a hatchet where you need a scalpel. Let me tell you another place where I'd like to look for some savings. We're currently spending $10 billion a month in Iraq when they have a $79 billion surplus. It seems to me that if we're going to be strong at home as well as strong abroad, that we've got to look at bringing that war to a close. In order to make those tough decisions, we've got to know what our values are and who we're fighting for and what our priorities are. And if we are spending $300 billion on tax cuts for people who don't need them and weren't even asking for them, and we are leaving out health care, which is crushing on people all across the country, then I think we have made a bad decision, and I want to make sure we're not shortchanging our long-term priorities.
I have not been elected Miss Congeniality in the United States Senate, nor with the administration. I have opposed the president on spending, on climate change, on torture of prisoners, on Guantanamo Bay, on the way that the Iraq War was conducted. I have a long record, and the American people know me very well. And that is independent and a maverick of the Senate.
What do you see as the lessons of Iraq?
This strategy has succeeded, and we are winning in Iraq. And we will come home with victory and with honor.
John, you like to pretend like the war started in 2007. You talk about the surge. The war started in 2003. And at the time when the war started, you said it was going to be quick and easy. You said we knew where the weapons of mass destruction were. You were wrong. You said that we were going to be greeted as liberators. You were wrong. You said that there was no history of violence between Shia and Sunni. And you were wrong.
I'm afraid Senator Obama doesn't understand the difference between a tactic and a strategy.
I absolutely understand the difference between tactics and strategy. And the strategic question that the president has to ask is not whether or not we are employing a particular approach in the country once we have made the decision to be there. The question is, was this wise?
Osama bin Laden and General Petraeus have one thing in common that I know of. They both said that Iraq is the central battleground. On this issue of aiding Pakistan, if you're going to aim a gun at somebody, George Shultz, our great Secretary of State, told me once, you better be prepared to pull the trigger. He said that he would launch military strikes into Pakistan. Now, you don't do that. You don't say that out loud. He doesn't understand. I guarantee you, I would not publicly state that I'm going to attack him.
Nobody talked about attacking Pakistan. Here's what I said. If the United States has al-Qaeda, bin Laden, top-level lieutenants in our sights, and Pakistan is unable or unwilling to act, then we should take them out. John, you're absolutely right that presidents have to be prudent in what they say. But, coming from you, who, in the past have threatened extinction for North Korea and, sung songs about bombing Iran, I don't know, how credible that is.
I don't think that Senator Obama understands that there was a failed state in Pakistan when Musharraf came to power. Everybody who was around then and had been there and knew about it knew that it was a failed state. And I'll tell you, I had a town hall meeting in Wolfboro, New Hampshire, and a woman stood up and she said, Senator McCain, I want you to do me the honor of wearing a bracelet with my son's name on it. He was 22 years old and he was killed in combat outside of Baghdad, Matthew Stanley, before Christmas last year. And I said, I will wear his bracelet with honor. And then she said, but Senator McCain, I want you to do everything, promise me one thing, that you'll do everything in your power to make sure that my son's death was not in vain.
I've got a bracelet too, from the mother of Sergeant Ryan David Jopek, given to me in Green Bay. And she asked me, can you please make sure that another mother's not going through what I'm going through? No U.S. soldier ever dies in vain because they are carrying out the missions of their commander-in-chief. And we honor all the service that they've provided. The question is, for the next president, are we making good judgments about how to keep America safe? Nobody's talking about defeat in Iraq, but I have to say that we are having enormous problems in Afghanistan because of that decision. And it is not true that you have consistently been concerned about what happened in Afghanistan. I mean, at one point, while you were focused on Iraq, you said, well, we can muddle through Afghanistan. You don't muddle through the Central Front on Terror, and you don't muddle through going after bin Laden. You don't muddle through stamping out the Taliban. I think that is something that we have to take seriously. And when I'm president, I will.
Senator Obama doesn't seem to understand. Now, here is Ahmadinejad, who is Ahmadinejad. What Senator Obama doesn't seem to understand, a little bit of naivete there. He doesn't understand. Ought to understand. Senator Obama still doesn't quite understand or doesn't get it. There are some advantages to experience and knowledge and judgment. And I honestly don't believe that Senator Obama has the knowledge or experience and has made the wrong judgments. We've seen this stubbornness before in this administration, to cling to a belief that somehow the surge has not succeeded, and failing to acknowledge that he was wrong about the surge shows to me that we need more flexibility in a president of the United States than that.
Part of what we need to do, what the next president has to do, and this is part of our judgment, this is part of how we are going to keep America safe, is to send a message to the world that we are going to invest in issues like education. We are going to invest in issues that relate to how ordinary people are able to live out their dreams. And that is something that I'm going to be committed to as President of the United States.
When I came home from prison, I saw our veterans being very badly treated, and it made me sad. I guarantee you, as President of the United States, I know how to heal the wounds of war, I know how to deal with our adversaries, and I know how to deal with our friends.
And that ends this debate tonight. Thank you, and good night.
Good job, John.
Good job.
Good job.
Good job. Thank you.